the era of global digitization, central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, are emerging as a financial revolution, sparking an intense debate between two fateful boundaries: a state-of-the-art monetary flow bringing prosperity, or an invisible surveillance cage controlling human freedom. On the positive side, CBDCs represent the pinnacle of modern financial technology, an advanced monetary flow capable of optimizing the entire economic system thanks to instant transaction speeds, ultra-low operational costs, and the complete elimination of risks from intermediary banks. Moving beyond mere payments, CBDCs are also a powerful tool that helps governments distribute social relief packages precisely to each citizen without fear of loss, while fundamentally eradicating financial crimes such as tax evasion, money laundering, or terrorist financing through the absolute transparency of ledger technology. However, it is this very absolute transparency that triggers the fear of a comprehensive surveillance cage where privacy is completely stripped away. Unlike cash, which is inherently anonymous and free, every single CBDC unit leaves a digital footprint, and if it falls into the hands of ambitious regulators, it could turn into a terrifying tool for shaping social behavior through programmable features like setting money expiration dates, limiting permitted items to buy, or even freezing any individual's assets with just a single click. This ideological confrontation places humanity before a puzzling conundrum where the line between a super-efficient economy and a society dictated by surveillance becomes thinner than ever, forcing nations when stepping into the CBDC era to find the answer to balancing national security and the core freedom of every human being. Looking deep into the global development roadmap, the race to issue CBDCs is no longer a theoretical forecast, but has become a fierce reality in many major economies, from China's digital yuan, ECNY, expanding its testing scale, to the cautious yet decisive steps of the digital euro or the electronic USD. This shift is creating a new geopolitical pressure where currency is not just a payment tool, but also a weapon reshaping the world financial order, reducing dependence on traditional payment systems controlled by the West. However, hand in hand with that power ambition are colossal technical challenges and security risks, as such a highly centralized financial system will become a lucrative target for large-scale cyber attacks where a single vulnerability could paralyze an entire national economy in just a few seconds. Furthermore, the public response to CBDCs remains a massive question mark of skepticism because its birth is facing implicit resistance from advocates of decentralized cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Those who view CBDCs as a version that suffocates the original spirit of freedom of blockchain technology. Before this historical crossroads, the future of global finance will not be decided by how advanced the technology is, but depends on whether governments dare to transparentize management algorithms and establish strict civil rights protection laws to prove to the world that CBDCs are a launchpad for prosperity, rather than a tool to turn citizens into controlled numbers in a haunting dystopian scenario. That is why the next phase of this revolution will be a battle to win back trust from mass consumers, where central banks are forced to step out of their technological ivory towers to engage in a level-headed dialogue with society. The success or failure of CBDCs will depend on building a unique hybrid mechanism where technical elements allow anonymity for small daily transactions to respect personal privacy, while only triggering traceability for high-value transactions or those with signs of criminal activity. In parallel, the rise of CBDCs will also reshape the entire traditional commercial banking system, forcing these financial institutions to evolve from mere money-holding intermediaries into providers of deep digital asset management and experiential services, lest they be marginalized by the tide of the times. As the boundaries between control and freedom, between utility and security, are increasingly clearly defined by progressive regulatory frameworks, CBDCs will likely not extreme into a cage, nor will they entirely be a flawless magic wand. Instead, it will exist as a mirror, accurately reflecting the true nature of a nation's governance system. An ultra-modern flow of money serving the people when placed within a transparent democracy, or a terrifying surveillance tool if it falls into the hands of an information-monopolized apparatus, leaving humanity with a cautious journey as they step-by-step reshape the economic lifeblood of the century to come. Becoming an inseparable part of the future, the presence of CBDCs will force every individual to equip themselves with an entirely new financial mindset, where asset management is no longer merely about storage, but about deeply understanding how one's cash flow interacts with the system. This shift does not just stop at national borders, but will establish a completely new cross-border payment network, altering the structure of international trade as businesses can trade directly with one another using the digital currencies of two central banks without needing an intermediate conversion currency. From roadside retail shops to multinational megacorporations, all will operate on a synchronized digital platform, creating a sleepless economic flow with unprecedented efficiency in human history. Ending a long and controversial journey, central bank digital currency is ultimately not a preordained destiny, but a tool waiting to be shaped by human choice itself. Whether it becomes an advanced cash flow turning human civilization to a new page, or a surveillance cage binding freedom, the answer does not lie in the nature of lines of code, but in the awakening and counter-surveillance of the public and the ethics of those who hold the power to operate it, to ensure that advanced technology must always be a loyal servant to societal progress and never become the ruler of our lives. This landmark adoption will also trigger a wave of comprehensive digital education on a global scale, where knowledge of personal data security and financial sovereignty becomes mandatory survival skills for every generation. When currency is no longer tangible paper held in hands, but exists as streams of data light shifting in digital space, the concept of ownership will be more profoundly redefined, demanding the birth of international courts and new digital charters to protect humans against the risks of technological abuse of power. Future generations looking back at this transitional phase will see it as the moment humanity courageously crossed the boundaries of old safety to establish a new civilized order, where money functions like intelligent cells automating the economy, yet still retaining the heartbeat of human rights. Ultimately, as the fierce controversies gradually subside and legal frameworks become fully realized, CBDCs will blend into daily life as a natural course, leaving a costly historical lesson that the pinnacle of technology is only truly valuable when it is tamed by compassion, transparency, and humankind's eternal desire for freedom, turning this state-of-the-art cash flow into a solid bedrock for a future era of prosperity, equity, and sustainability. This natural fusion will also mark the end of the primitive monetary era to open a new chapter of a programmable economy, where cash flow not only circulates but also possesses the intelligence to automatically optimize production and distribute social resources. In that world, macroeconomic policies will be executed with zero latency, allowing financial crises to be extinguished while they are still tiny sparks, protecting the livelihoods of billions of people against unpredictable fluctuations of the global market. Passing through all harsh filters of time, challenges, and endless debates, the report on CBDC is ultimately not a mere warning or a song of praise, but a lens reflecting humanity's aspiration toward perfection. When final technological barriers are bridged and doubts about the surveillance cage are dissolved by civilized consensus, this state-of-the-art cash flow will be the very blood pumping through the body of a future society, a society where supreme technology and absolute human freedom are no longer two opposing extremes, but coexist to shape a prosperous, secure, and phenomenally progressive world. This ultimate resonance is precisely the premise for establishing a borderless global ecosystem where the wealth gap between nations can be narrowed thanks to equal and barrier-free financial access. The barren lands or the most isolated communities of previous centuries will now be directly connected to the world's economic lifeline with just a digital identity device, receiving direct and timely support resources without being suffocated by any intermediary apparatus. This is no longer the vision of a distant economic theory, but the inevitable conclusion of a powerful tool when placed under the supreme oversight of international law and human rights. As the wheels of history continue to turn, CBDCs will no longer be a hot topic on news pages or in international forums, but will become the invisible atmosphere nurturing human development, proving that humanity possesses more than enough wisdom to transform a tool capable of becoming a surveillance cage into a pair of wings of freedom, propelling digital civilization with steady, long strides into a future that is brighter, more comprehensive, and more humane than ever before. This century-defining move will also solve the sustainability puzzle for a planet facing severe ecological challenges, as phasing out paper money and cumbersome mining server systems helps minimize the carbon footprint of the global financial industry. Every economic transaction is now not only faster and safer, but also greener, turning every circulating digital currency unit into a vote for the survival of the environment and nature. As the first bricks of the fully digitized era are firmly laid, history will record the CBDC transition as one of the greatest yet most peaceful revolutions, where humanity does not need to destroy the old to build the new, but uses intellect and empathy to upgrade the core values of civilization. Looking back at the entire journey from a controversial and skeptical concept to the foundation of shared prosperity, the CBDC has fulfilled its ultimate mission. It does not stifle freedom, but unleashes human potential, closing long chapters of uncertainty to open a new era where the flow of currency and the flow of human happiness officially become one. Merging into that eternal flow, the world will witness the birth of a new generation of global citizens. Those who are no longer bound by prejudices of monetary nationality, but freely position their own value within a unified digital space. State-of-the-art finance will no longer be a privilege of bustling economic centers, but will become an essential public service, as present and equal as water or sunlight reaching every home across the planet. As anxieties about an absolute surveillance cage fade completely into the past, giving way to absolute trust in a transparent governance system powered by human-centric algorithms, people will have more time and energy to focus on higher creative, artistic, and spiritual values. That is the perfect finale to the chorus of technology and humanity, where central bank digital currency has overcome the harshest prejudices to assert itself not as a cold tool of control, but as a flawless interlude, leading human civilization into an era of true peace, prosperity, and freedom. And when true freedom becomes a solid foundation, the essence of prosperity will no longer be measured by soulless accumulated numbers on ledger systems, but by the ability of cash flow to transform into authentic life values for the community. This fully digitalized financial network will automatically operate like a living organism, self-regulating resources to places in need of relief, world-changing scientific projects, or the embryonic creative ideas of young talents in any corner of the globe. The initial skepticism about a surveillance cage is now just a valuable historical lesson in textbooks, reminding future generations of the importance of mastering technology instead of letting technology master humans. As the darkness of control is pushed back by the light of transparency and global consensus, CBDC will officially complete the final chapter in the evolutionary diary of currency, leaving behind a great legacy of a world connected without distance, an economy without barriers, and a humanity freely walking with pride into the infinite horizons of the future. Looking back from the endless horizons of the future, the success of a comprehensive CBDC system will become the launchpad for human cooperation on an unprecedented scale, where nations can join hands to solve the century's grand challenges like poverty, pandemics, or climate change with just clicks that synchronize global resources. State-of-the-art cash flow is no longer the private property of any institution, but is transformed into a universal language of trust, mutual understanding, and tolerance among cultures. Every old boundary of suspicion is erased, as the absolute transparency of technology has completely eliminated opportunities for fraudulent behavior, returning to society a living environment that is clean, safe, and filled with integrity. Ultimately, the central bank digital currency news no longer ends with an anxious questioning note, but is closed with a proud affirmation of human will and intellect, that we did not create a cage to imprison ourselves, but have forged a master key to fling open the doors into an era of eternal peace, where supreme technology blends absolutely with the freedom and ultimate happiness of humanity. And upon the foundation of that absolute harmony, the flow of CBDC will no longer be confined to purely economic activities, but will gradually become the catalyst for a great leap forward in the thinking and awareness of the entire society. When anxieties over financial instability or injustices in resource distribution are radically resolved by a perfectly operating system, humans will be liberated from the burdens of daily livelihood to reach new heights of knowledge, art, and space exploration. The digital currency system at this point acts as an invisible yet rock-solid infrastructure, a silent guardian for every achievement of civilization that humanity has painstakingly built through thousands of years of history. No longer can any force or dark scenario turn this tool into a surveillance cage, because the very awakening and supreme sovereignty of digital citizens have transformed it into an immortal symbol of freedom. Closing the entire epic of monetary evolution, CBDC stands there as a brilliant milestone, a powerful testament that when technology is guided by conscience and humanistic aspiration, it will always be an infinite source of energy, lifting humans higher and further into an era of progress, prosperity, and everlasting happiness through time.